Let's get ready to hear about Chatbot Arena, an open platform for crowdsourced AI benchmarks. Join me in welcoming Wei-Lin.
Okay, let's get started. Hey, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Wei-Lin. I'm a PhD student at UC Berkeley, and also part of the LLMs group. And I'm excited today to share with you our work on Chatbot Arena. So just a little bit about me before we dive in. So my research focuses on basically building robust evaluation system for AI. And as you can see, models now become more like complex and powerful, and it's very crucial for us to have like effective way to measure their progress. And that's pretty much what drives my work these years. So I'm not sure if you guys can see clearly, but basically this is a plot where x-axis is year and then y is the cost, and each point is like the recently how much people spend to train a frontier model. So we are at a point where training a cutting-edge AI model can cost over like 100 million now. And behind this, the common belief is like by scaling up the compute data and increasing model size, we can unlock new capabilities. So here we're talking about like clusters over 100,000 GPUs, data across all the internet and beyond, and also the model size reaching trillions of parameters. But with all these kind of like scaling investment, a big question is like how do we actually measure our progress like truthfully? So the progress in AI has been like advancing faster than ever. And as you can see, as you may know, like benchmarks these days are getting saturated very, very quickly. And then models capabilities like faster growing, like 1,000x context length from 1,000 token to right now 1 million and beyond. And also like all these new modalities coming in, audio, image, video, and also like in context, very strong in context learning capability. So for example, like in Gemini's report, there's a 1.5 report, they test the models on like, given the model a grammar book of a low resource language, which only 100 people speak in the world, and ask the model to give it the grammar book and dictionary, and ask the model to translate this language to English, and the model can do it. So it's like kind of like amazing capability in context, long context capability, right? So as this kind of AI intelligence system becomes smarter and smarter, sometimes we still observe something that's like surprising. It can be sometimes shockingly stupid. So take one example, which is like Llama 370B. It has like 95% accuracy in a benchmark called GSM-AK, which is like a grad school, grade school math. But sometimes still failed in some of the basic math. Like if you ask the model, is 3 plus 5 equals 8, the model can answer it. And there's like famous example where you ask the model which one is larger, 9.9 or 9.11. The model still can't figure out. So does it mean that we truly solve the, even grade school math? It's a big question here. And one major issue people have been realizing these days, like also a challenge we're facing is benchmark leakage, because as you can imagine, like people want to compute scale data, so they are taking like all the data over the internet to train the model, right? And then you never know whether benchmark data is in the training set, and this creates a big problem, which is this is like the analysis in Meta's Llama 3 report. They found that contaminant analysis, and they found that most benchmarks are actually more or less included in a training set. You can see this column, which is I highlight. Some of them are even 90% plus. And they also say in the paper that MM values gives so high contamination score that's almost impossible to estimate the level of contamination. So this brings the problem even more severe. Can we still trust these well-established benchmark even? This number, can the benchmark still give us useful signal? Unfortunately, like creating new benchmark, new evaluation these days are basically becoming harder than ever. There are a few challenges. One is like people are using these models for open-ended tasks that without ground truth, and then it requires like real-world interaction, let's say multi-turn. And then on the other hand, you also need some of the domain-specific question requires expert knowledge. And just again, you always have this kind of risk of contamination or overfitting. So the problem right now is like when you want to build a high-quality benchmark, that requires like very expensive accelerator. So for example, like recently a very popular high-quality benchmark called GPQA, which actually costs like 120,000 to build, only for 500 questions. So it's like so expensive. And then we don't know whether it'll be included in the training set. Do we need a new GPQA every week, every month? So it's like a big challenge right now. So what can we do, right? We believe that we probably need to be creative. We need to think beyond just static benchmark by capturing like the end-to-end user experience here. And the reason is, first of all, we want the benchmark to reflect the real-world distribution of data, question people ask, preference, right? And then we want to gather, more importantly, we want to gather organic, high-quality human feedback. And you also want like very diverse and new use cases. So it's almost like you need to build a new service, new product for people to use, like in a daily task, and then you collect it. They input their feedback. And if we can build something like this, our benchmark can evolve as quickly as model do. And then this is what exactly happening. So benchmark cannot catch up with the speed that model evolves. So, at academia, we have no resources. We can only use our creativity. So we were just like, trying to think out of the box. Can we build something like a community-driven platform to crowdsource, questions, benchmark questions, crowdsource preference? And then the goal is like, can we build something that's useful and fun as a service, and then incentivizing people to come to contribute data questions, right? And then it generates like, novel real-world distributions for evaluation. As a return, we collect these kind of data. Can we provide like, collective insights that everyone in the community can benefit from? So that was the hypothesis. And so that leads us to how we build this interface, which is very simple. It's just a side-by-side interface, but it's powerful in the sense that user come here to the site. Here's the link to the demo. You can ask any questions, and then there will be two anonymized model, answer your question. And as a user, you just vote which model answer your question better, and that's all. The right one is like an example. I ask what's Ray, something like that, and then you and user spend time to read and then wait. So our hypothesis is like, we want to create something that's engaging for user, and at the same time, user give us feedback, and then we can collect like incredibly valuable data for eval. So this is just a recording for the demo. Let's see. just to recap a little bit, you ask any questions here. Oops, I cannot play it. Yeah, you can ask any questions here and then see response. And at the end, you review a little bit, and then you vote which one is better. And at the end, we'll review which model is which. So that's kind of like also a little bit fun for you to, to play with, to understand the difference between models. And we launched this website last year in April. Since our launch, we have seen like amazing engagement, community support. We collected over like 50 million user queries and around like 2 million votes, this kind of side-by-side votes collected. And right now we have like approximately 800K unique monthly user. And we rank over like 140 models that's very popular community, based on community interest, basically. So all the popular models you heard of, like OpenAI, Google, Gemini, Cloud, and so on, it's all on our leaderboard. So basically, we take this kind of like 2 million pairwise comparison to calculate a leaderboard, a ranking. This is how our leaderboard looks like. And so I will dive into more detail later. Just an overview across time. Like, I just want to say, like, our progress is not possible without strong community support. And we've been overcoming, like, challenges. Initially, we got some momentum. People are excited, but it's really hard to build something that's, people come back, recurring, use it. So we struggle a little bit, but we almost gave up, almost died. But we stayed very active and then engaged, tweeting every day, keep the momentum going. And then a more important thing is, there's just so many exciting release launches earlier this year from Anthropic, from Google, Meta, these. So people like really excited about the new development and the leaderboard. So that's like amazing to see. Yeah. So let's dive into a little bit more detail here. We do crowdsourced benchmark, right? But the nature question here to ask is like, is it reliable or not? And so earlier this year, we worked on like, dive deeper into the data we collect and really understand like what are the signal we are getting, and analyzing, the distribution of user prompt, and then validating like, is this prompt quality good or bad, and as well as the vote. And we also developed some statistical technique to do outlier detections, because as you know, when you do anything crowdsourcing, there will be noises, right? And also like, can we develop technique to give statistically sound estimation for our ranking for the leaderboard? So we did basically in-depth study on this, and then this paper was published on ICML this year. Let me just quickly go through some of the high-level results we have. So basically, we wanted to understand that what users are really asking, right? And then, so they are like, great tool we can use to basically analyzing the topic modeling by, converting all this prompt into embeddings, and then do some of the hierarchical clustering method. And then we can, again, use these to help us do summarization and so on. So then our result help us understand like the diversity of these topics and questions people are interested in. So this is probably too small, but basically our conclusion is like they are like pretty diverse topics coverage we've been observing, and then it's a good sign. And we hope to continue to push this to broader audience so that we can get even better coverage. And then it's also becoming multilingual. So we don't not only just have English speaker, we have a very diverse distribution now: English, Chinese, Russian, German, Korean, Japanese, and many more. And this kind of like diversity brings in wide range of use cases that we want, and also help us reduce overfitting that we believe. And on the another aspects, like because we are crowdsourcing data from the internet, there will be some data high quality, some data low quality. So to make sure that we can reflect signals from different kind of distribution, we also work on like automating a pipeline that we can help us to filter high quality data. So basically, we define like some of the key criteria we believe that's important for high quality data. Like it has to require some of the domain knowledge to answer the question. It has to be, some of the problem solving task, things like that. And we were able to, identify, define those key criteria and then build an automatic labeling pipeline to help us select high quality subset. And as you can see here, when we do an experiment, basically when we select the higher quality prompt, the difference between a strong and weaker model become larger. So as you can see, the hardness score increase, the win rate of the stronger model increase. So imagine you just add something like, something simple like ask the model to write down some travel plan for you. Then in that case, you won't see the big difference between, let's say, GPT-4 or GPT, or Llama 7B, let's say. But as the question become more technical or challenging, we observe the trend. Yeah. So right now, we are not only just a high challenging problem, we also build a pipeline to label this data in different domains. So for example, coding, we got a lot of coding questions. Part of the reason is because our kind of community is developer focused. So we have 20% of the questions about coding, and then some of them are some of them are math, and then a large number of them are instruction following, asking model to perform some task. And then the hard problem I mentioned is around 27-30% of the problem is actually considered high quality. So now when you go to our leaderboard, you can actually select all these different category breakdown to see different signals here and see if there's any ranking shift. So people, we hope this is useful. And then we also develop some technique for outlier detection, which is on a high level, basically, idea is just, to compare the distribution of the rating to a specific user's rating. So if this specific user is behaving very differently than the overall distribution, then it'll be flagged. So this kind of tool we use to determine, and then we also did a smaller scale experiment to validate whether this can help us catch some of the malicious user, and we identified them successfully. Our conclusion is we didn't, we identified actually pretty small portion of the users is considered misusing, yeah. So next, the question is how do we turn this data into meaningful insights? For example, leaderboard, right? And then behind this, we basically use a statistical model called Bradley-Terry to estimate the model strengths, and then we use a bootstrapping technique to help us derive the confidence intervals so that we can say that from the data we observe, we can confidently separate them in what degree. Yeah. So making sure that the ranking here we present is kind of robust. Yeah. Another exciting things we've been working on is can we do case study on a specific model? So we published earlier this year a blog post about Llama 3 because initially people have seen surprising results coming out from the model. And then we basically developed an automatic pipeline to help us break down the performance, this model's performance in different tasks. So for example, you can see there are some brainstorming questions, there are some translation questions. Models behave very differently, different performance. And we found that this model is strong in open-ended creative task and more positive, but also notice it struggles some, a little bit in more specific logical problem-solving task than compared to these top model. Yeah. So That was the technique we developed, and then in order to help make sure that we benefit the community, we also committed to openness and the collaboration. So last year we also released our data set that we collect on the website, which we call LLMs Chat 1 million, which contains 1 million user LLM conversations that we collect. And then this data set is we demonstrate it can be used to study some of the safety aspect of the model, refusal. Also, you can use the data to train better model, better alignment, because you have the human preference. And you also can use it to build benchmark, like static local benchmark that can be used for your use case. And we also, along with this, we also released 100K human preference data. And these kind of data, we've been seeing promising sign that used by leading labs at Google Media to train the model. On the other hand, we are also, since day one, we open source the system, the project behind Chatbot Arena to serve the models, the multi-model serving framework, and the gradual front end is all open source. And we've been seeing it's popular, widely used by community, having over 36,000 GitHub stars, things like that. So really grateful for the community support. And we also see people use the code base to build new kind of type of arena based on that. And yeah, so that was the open source data set and project. And I think more excitingly, in the start of this year, we have been seeing strong interest from the industry for collaboration. So we are actually honored to work with many of the leading frontier labs to test their model, even pre-release. So this includes OpenAI's GPT-4o and Google's Gemini, Meta Llama, and also XAI Grok, and many more. So we are very excited to see our platform has been bringing values to not only community for model ranking, but also model builder developers to give them useful signal to improve the model. And we are, grateful that our work has caught the attention of industry people, leaders, such as OpenAI's Greg Brockman, Jeff Dean, and Andrew Carpusy, Sam Altman, and recently Elon Musk. And then as well as some of the media coverage. So really, this is a reason why it's really important for us, because it's a community project. We need people to know us, to come here to the site to play with the model, contribute data. So this is incredibly supported. Okay, so just to wrap up a little bit, because we have 6 minutes left. We built a platform to crowdsource AI benchmark. We've been seeing promising signs that it contains diverse user prompt distribution, and then also we see promising data quality in different domain tasks. And then we're developing technique to help detect outlier, remove the noise, and more importantly, we wanted to develop a system that's statistically sound that people in the community can trust. So looking ahead, we are excited about several new directions we are heading. The first one is multimodality. As you may know, we earlier, in June, we launched this kind of new support for image. So now you go to the site, you can not only just chat, but also upload image. So that's also very exciting new directions. And next, the second one is red teaming jailbreaking arena. So we wanted to see if we can, following the success of Chatbot Arena, build a platform a community-focused jailbreak, community-focused platform to identify, addressing vulnerability of the model, testing the limit of the model, study the safety aspect of the model. And also, we are continuing to push our understanding in terms of like decoupling, human preference on this benchmark, because what is really understanding why users prefer certain response over others. And I will quickly go through high level. So multimodality vision, we launched 3-4 months ago, and then we already got like 600,000 conversations involving image, and we also added 30 models right now. It's also like, as you can see, many languages, diversity, and then we are planning to release the data very soon. On the Red Team Arena, we just launched like less than a month ago, and we built like a community-driven like jailbreaking platform. So the first game we are launching is like, a game where you try to break the model, ask the model to say something bad. If you win, that you come, and then we have a leaderboard not only for model but for jailbreaker. So who is the best jailbreaker to break the model? So that's, we hope to incentivize people come to the site to play with it and to test the limit of the model to improve our understanding. And lastly, we want to dive deeper, as I say, to understand why users prefer certain response in this kind of open-ended task. And so one of the questions people have been asking in the community is like, is the style, length, or the use of markdown affect, human preference? So we developed a technique just recently, like try to decoupling the style and substance in the evaluation. So basically modeling style as like an independent variable in our regression model. So this way, the model score can reflect like, the strengths without stylistic biases. And that sounds very exciting, and we continue to push to understand. As you can see, the ranking on the left is the original one. On the right is like with the style control, you can see lots of the model actually, the ranking shift quite a bit. And we continue to understand what really is the user preference here, and then we wanted to develop more technique like this to decouple it. And lastly, Chatbot Arena is a project that is not possible without a strong team. And I could not have done this alone, so big thanks to the amazing team. Also the support from community, sponsors. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Thanks for that great talk, Wei-Lin. Thank goodness you saved Chatbot Arena from the brink of death. For questions, please come to the middle, to the mic. Thanks.
Thank you for your talk and your work on Chatbot Arena. I noticed that you have many more user queries than votes. I think you showed 50 million user queries and about 2 million votes. Is that more because there are a lot of users who are not voting? Or is it because of multi-turn conversations or something else?
Yeah, because people are lazy. So the conversion rate we're seeing is like 5% to 10%, something like that. But I think it's not bad.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, this is a great project. So I have a question about how do you detect the outliers of bad results? Like, would you elaborate that a little bit more?
Yeah, so as I said, so there are two efforts addressing this question. One is about, first, identify high-quality prompt. So our hypothesis is like, if users are asking like, challenging hard questions and spending time to, really test the model limit, then we consider it has a high-quality data. So that's one way to denoise. So we build a pipeline to filter low-quality data. And the other effort we are doing is like, can we just, by looking at this user's preference, so user will vote, right? Let's say vote 20 times. And then we see this 20 votes, and then compare this distribution to overall distribution. If it's overly concentrated on some specific model, then they will be considered outlier.
Oh, I see. Cool. Thank you.
When you have a new model, how long does it take to get rated?
So these days, we've been seeing like growing traffic. So if we deploy a model these days, so that depending on how precise, the result you want. Like I mentioned, we do this Bradley-Terry model to estimate the coefficient. And when you do bootstrapping, we can have the confidence interval back. So if you want super tight confidence interval, then you need over 10,000 volts, things like that. But oftentimes we found that 1,000 volt, a few thousand volts should be good enough for us to estimate, pretty much. And that requires given the demand, but usually a few days we can evaluate. We can get some early result. Yeah.
Thank you.
Stable result. Cool.
Do you have demographic data about the people using it? And if so, do you have any ways of accounting for bias in the people that are actually responding to the questions?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
Do you have demographic data about the people using it? And if so, do you have ways of accounting for bias?
You mean our user distribution, right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So because we are anonymous, service, so we don't actually store any PII data, but the data, the language distribution we've been seeing for sure right now is mostly English. We also see Chinese, Russian, and things like that, and then we see lots of coding technical questions, mainly because I think the community we're at is more developer focused. So definitely there are some of the biases, and we hope that we can push this effort to broader audience so that to get more coverage. So that's it. Thank you. All right. Thank you.